Wait! Before you watch my great interview with Chris Jericho, remember, guys, Monday Night Live is back. And myself, Alex McCarthy, is hosting the show with Sati Nyangi and SB3. All you need to do is give us a nice like and subscribe on ITR Clips. Make sure you make your way over there, Inside the Ropes sister channel. We'd love to have you with our show every Monday, 8 p.m. Hope to see you there. Enjoy Chris Jericho. I have to ask before we move along here, obviously a lot in the news this week about yourself and MVP, which has come to light. And I know you've already passed comment on this, right? You said to fight for what you had to say. Is there any chance you two could maybe reconcile your differences? It seems to have been bubbling a while, or have you just kind of thought, you know what, it seems past the point of return?
No comment.
That's a very fair answer. I do want to talk, though, about Forbidden Door, which is approaching. Now, last time we spoke, you actually mentioned Minoru Suzuki. You mentioned Will Ospreay. He's got a singles match tonight as well, which is really
right.
Cool to see in AEW. You're talking about yourself and Kenny as a tag team. Of course, that's not something we can see just yet. What ideas have you got for the show, man? Because again, you've already made your name in Japan. I'm sure there's going to be great interest.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I headlined 3 Tokyo Domes in a row with Kenny in 18, Naito in 19, and Tanahashi in 20. So there was a lot of revenue and a lot of money and a lot of tickets sold with Chris Jericho in New Japan Pro Wrestling and a lot of momentum. And then, of course, obviously, the pandemic happened, which shut everything down. I think there's still a lot more money to be made in Japan.
Yeah,
I think Suzuki and Jericho in Japan means a lot more than Suzuki and Jericho does in the States, because Minoru's worked a lot of guys. You know, I think Minoru worked with, like, I don't know, Joey Janela or whatever in the States, which is great. It's not a Tokyo Dome level match. So there's a couple matches I want to keep for Japan. Will Ospreay is another one. John Moxley and Tanahashi, I think, is a huge main event. It's as big as it gets, maybe even bigger than Punk and Tanahashi, because Mox has worked in New Japan. You know, I think there's a real fighting spirit connection there. So for me to be on Forbidden Door, the issue for me is not just the matches that I could do at the Tokyo Dome, but the fact that we have Blood and Guts 3 days later in Detroit. So anything that I do on the Forbidden Door has to relate to Blood and Guts. It has to be the next step in the story to the promotion of Blood and Guts, or else it's counterproductive. We're going to have to promote both the Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts, because it's the go home show for both. So for me on the Forbidden Door, I have to do something that continues the momentum to Blood and Guts. If I just, randomly face Minoru Suzuki, will we tear the house down? Of course. But how does that connect to what we're doing just 3 days later? So usually I would not want to be on the show in any sort of capacity other than a single match, main event, single match. But I think this show is an exception because we have to do something that fits, that leads to Blood and Guts. So I'm sure we'll be doing something, but I'm also sure it'll be the next step in the ladder to get to this giant match that we have in Detroit on June 29th on Dynamite.
You know, when I spoke to my editor earlier and I said, I'm going to be speaking to Chris Jericho, and he goes, for some reason, the first thing he said was Mike Tyson. Oh, I love when Jericho and Mike Tyson together. I'm obviously a couple of years ago, we had that where he turned up in AEW. Was there ever did Mike show an interest in having a match or anything like that? Yeah,
he did. We worked on it for a while. The initial idea was for there to be a Jericho Mike Tyson match. He was about to do that boxing exhibition with
Roy Jones Jr. Sure.
Roy Jones Jr. So that was kind of getting in the way of the timing that we had. Because you remember, I think he showed up in May of
2020. Yeah, 20, I think.
And that was in front of no people, once again, but it was great to have him. And then he came as an enforcer kind of 6 months later when I worked with Dax Harwood. He was kind of the ringside enforcer. So he came back then, and the time had switched. We had gone from being heels to being baby faces. And I think we were really trying to work on it that summer of 2020, but he was getting ready for that fight that he had with Roy Jones. And we just couldn't make it work. We were thinking even maybe a street fight or a cinematic match, anything we could do. Now, Mike, by the way, I loved when people were like, well, you should have Mike do this, and Mike should have knocked out MJF, and Mike should have done this. And it's like, you guys don't understand. Mike does whatever the hell Mike wants. And you can tell him, this is the idea we have. And I know this, I've been in the ring with him 4 or 5 times now. He will do whatever he wants to do. And in that May 2020 altercation, if you remember, he came to the ring with like 6 guys. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. We did not rehearse 6 guys. I didn't even know who these 6 guys were. And there was one idiot guy with like, he's called the Gooch or the Gaunch or something. And he had makeup on his face. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And he's in my face jumping down. When the whole melee started, I punched him right in the face. I knocked him right down. And afterwards, Luther and I, we were walking down the hallway and we smelt this like huge cloud of weed. And so I was like, with Luther, I was like, dude, let's go and knock on the door. And we go inside. It's actually, we didn't knock on the door. Tyson's guys came out and said, come on in. So we go inside this giant suite, and this place is foggy with clouds of smoke. And Lenny and I don't smoke weed, but we walked in there, we were instantly secondhand high. And we go in there, and Mike is fucking howling about how I knocked out his friend. He's like, you hit the Gooch right in the face. You knocked him right down. I was like, you saw it? He goes, I saw it. I was like, I was hoping you wouldn't. Because I loved it. It was great. It was great. And Mike just loves wrestling so much. And he loved being a part of it. He was so respectful. I'll tell you what, it's Mike Tyson. Everybody in the locker room wanted a picture with Mike Tyson. Yeah. And to his credit, he took pictures with everybody. So he's an honorary member of the Inner Circle, along with Elvis, the only 2 honorary members. And that's a pretty Hall of Fame worthy distinction. So yeah, we would love to have a match with Mike. It just depends on if he's available, and he was actually into it for a while, and we just couldn't make it work out. And then, things move on. You got to keep the stories going. So he's always welcome on our show at any point in time. I think he only wants to be involved with me though. So I'm one of the only guys that can kind of corral him.
Reach out, Chris. Reach out. I want to see it.
We'll try.
Well, speaking of things I want to see, Chris Jericho back in London. Man, I can't wait. As I say, I'm going to be there. He's got a 3-day tour with Inside the Ropes coming this July. Make sure you get your tickets. If you haven't already, you definitely should. I'm not sure. Are the VIP packages gone yet? I wouldn't be surprised.
Still some left. They just opened up a few more because everyone loves the VIP experience, which is great, but they go so fast. So I know in London, we sold out of the VIP. So we opened up some more. There was another package that Kenny had set up, which is the super duper special package. You open up some more of those. It's itrtix.com. And we're going to have a great time, man. As you can tell, just from talking with you, I think we've been talking for 30 minutes already. And we told 5 awesome stories that you probably haven't heard before. And there's about 1,000 more where those came from. So I'm looking forward to it, because like I said, the first ones that I did were more, I saw Bruce Dickinson's stand-up show, which is great. It's him. This is different. This is interacting with Kenny, which is what Kenny, it's his forte. So I was like, all right, dude, well, last time you did it my way, this time let's do it your way. Either way, the stories are great. The interactions are amazing. And like I said, London's one of my favorite cities in the world. I'm excited to come back and hang out. My favorite hotel in the world, the Hard Rock London. I'll be there hanging out, and it's going to be a great week.
Kenny knew where to put you up. He knew. Awesome, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us here. Inside the Ropes, that tour with Jericho is coming, and make sure you check out Dynamite and in the coming weeks where Jericho is going to be in action. Chris Jericho, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Alex. Cheers, man. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
So we're like walking in the backstage. It's like, oh, this is the office here. Let's go inside. Hey, can we help you guys? Oh, yeah, we're just looking for dressing room. Oh, the dressing room's that way. Oh, okay. Sorry. Fuck. Let's go in this office. There's a potted plant. Let's take it.